On behalf of my colleagues at Page Scranton, it is my privilege to introduce Mayor Skip Henderson for his inaugural State of the City address. Mayor Henderson is a Columbus native, attended Columbus High School, the University of Georgia, and Columbus State University back when it was Columbus College. That dates him a little bit. After school, he gained invaluable experience working with his father, the much admired Barry Henderson, in the real estate business before taking on the role as team leader at Keller Williams Realty. Skip and his wife, Karen, who's with us today also, have been married for 35 years, and they have 2 adult children, Joey, who lives here in Columbus, and their daughter, Kyle, who lives in Atlanta. As many of you know, Skip served as post-10 city councilman for over 2 decades, including 9 years as chair of the Budget Committee. He's also been active in the community outside of his public service, including serving as chair of the Better Business Bureau, March of Dimes, and the Kiwanis Club. In addition, Skip and Karen serve jointly on the Leadership Council of the American Cancer Society. As mayor, Skip is committed to using his deep experience in government and passion for his hometown to make Columbus an even better place to live and work. We're going to show a short video and then welcome the 70th Mayor of Columbus to give his State of the City address.
Take me where your river flows. I want to drive on your open road like the wilderness where we are born singing, whoa. There's an ocean in your eyes, a million stars that paint the sky. So we'll drift down with the tide singing, whoa. Fly away somewhere past the Milky Way. Maybe we'll return someday. Don't wake me up, don't wake me up. waiting for the sun to rise. Rainy days and careless nights. Say you will, don't say goodbye. Say it's alright. Throw your caution to the wind. The shelter of my single bed. You can call it Wonderland. We could stay the night.
3, 2, 1.
You, let's fly away somewhere past the Milky Way. Maybe we'll return someday. Don't wake me up, don't wake me up. Riding on an endless wave, freight trains and aeroplanes. Maybe we'll return someday. Don't wake me up till we are home. Till we are home. Till we are home. Till we are home. Wake me up till we are home. Till we are home. Till we are home. Till we are home. Till we are home.
Man, I love that video. Every time I see it, I think, I want to live there. Oh, wait, I do. Hey, good afternoon, y'all. This is really exciting for me to be able to stand in front of you, and what an honor to be able to do so as the 70th mayor of Columbus, Georgia. Before we get started, I do want to make a couple of quick comments. One is I don't want us to forget the devastation that still exists and the loss of life that people are still dealing with in Lee County, in Alabama, and some of the property damage in Talbot County here in Georgia, and even here in Muskogee County. So our prayers and our thoughts remain with those people still dealing with the aftermath of that destruction. And you know, Karen and I had a very unique opportunity that I don't know that you want, but that you certainly appreciate after you've experienced it. And that is the fact that and it amazes me every time, but it plays out in almost every circumstance, particularly in this region. And that is that during the worst of times, we see the best in people. And I don't have words to adequately describe the awe that we felt and the esteem we held all these volunteers in that advanced on our home and the homes of our neighbors as they tried to help them sort out their lives and get through that debris. We're so thankful. I'll put in a shameless plug. If you're looking for a way to add to your donation list, Samaritan's Purse is not a bad organization to keep in mind. The other thing is, I woke up this morning, Karen says, "Are you nervous?" I said, well, let me put it this way. About 5 o'clock, I'm scheduled to rappel off the Carmike building. And that ain't what's worrying me today. So, yeah, I'm a little nervous. This is not my forte, public speaking. I love sitting and engaging in conversations. Speeches, though, are a little bit different because I don't often, as my wife will tell you, follow scripts very well. But we're gonna try, because some of this information that we want to get to you today, I think is very important, and I want you to hear it. And the other thing I want to do, I know we've introduced all of the elected officials. Few folks that I want to make mention of. One is my sister Susan, who is here. She is where is she? There she is. She's always supporting anything I do, no matter how harebrained it may seem at the time. And with apologies to all of my friends up front, she's a pretty good attorney too. So, and then of course my dad, Barry H. Henderson, who thinks it's the coolest thing he's seen for his name to be on the outside of the mayor's door. he asked me where I think I'm going to sit. So, but we're real proud. I'm real proud of both of them. And my dad is a military veteran, served 24 years in the United States Army as an Army pilot, and got out of the military, started a business, took it to #1 in the market. The guy just doesn't fail. Well, maybe with the exception of raising children. One's a lawyer, one's a politician. But Pops, we're proud of you. We hope we make you proud, too. And I want to introduce to you my best friend, who I have had the pleasure of being married to for 36 years, Karen Henderson. We're glad she's here. I know we mentioned the council, but I just want to say again just how fortunate I feel to be able to work with this incredible bunch of people. These guys are devoted and dedicated to doing one thing, and that's serving the public, serving the people of Columbus and Muskogee County. And we may not always agree going forward. In fact, it'd be a dull world if we did. But we always agree that we're working for the same reasons and the same people. And for that, I just respect them so much, and I want to thank them for being here today. So. We've got a lot of city employees here that we work with on a daily basis and do such a great job. I know our city attorney's here and our deputy city managers, but I'm only going to name one, because if I start on one, I'm going to be here all day. But I do want to lift up City Manager Isaiah Hughley. I can't tell you how fortunate I feel. Yeah, give him a round of applause. I told him we've been in the job now about 72 days, and I hope the load's getting lighter, because he's had sort of a heavy lift to kind of keep me between the ditches. But I just thank him for what he does and the way in which he's been doing it for Columbus for a long time. And lastly, if you'll indulge me, I'm going to ask my staff to stand up. These folks have the hardest job in government, keeping me straight. Alexis and Diane, and of course Richard Bishop. So, all right, I guess it's time to start getting to the meat of what we're here for. You know, I got to thinking, I've been serving, I was doing the math, and by the way, I want to thank Alan for the introduction. Thank you so much. I appreciate you doing that, making me sound better than I am. But I've been serving the citizens of Columbus in an elected capacity now since January of 1997. I was the youngest person ever elected. I was 12. But that's 21 years. And then I got to thinking about the Columbus that existed in 1997 and the Columbus that we have now. And I was curious, what would a candidate have sounded like that was trying to predict or promise some things that at the time just sounded absolutely crazy? If I'd been standing at a candidate forum in 1996 and said, I tell you what I'm going to do if I'm elected, I'm going to make our downtown our uptown. It's going to be a thriving business, education, arts, activity, entertainment environment, they'd have laughed me off the stage. I got one better than that. What if I'd have stood up and said, if you elect me, I'll bring whitewater rafting to the Chattahoochee in Columbus, Georgia. I mean, who in the world? I mean, they'd have brought out the white coats and come chase me around the building. But what if I'd promised that we would have, through public-private partnerships, 30 clay courts at Cooper Creek, adding another 25 for 55 courts at a facility that is unlike any other in America, any public facility. Would you believe that we would have 1.9 million visitors to our community, and they would leave behind an economic impact of over $340 million? How about that if you took a look in Uptown and took a 6-year stretch? The economic growth, we would see $74 million in capital investments based on the value of building permits, 42 new businesses, 400 new jobs, and more than $204 million. That's a 30% jump over those 6 years. Or what if I said in a campaign speech, we are discussing right now and about to make a reality 2 hotels in the 1200 block on Broadway. Now keep in mind, this is 1996 when we've been making these prognostications, when you could throw a rock in Uptown and not hit anybody, middle of the day. 2 hotels in the middle of Broadway. We're looking at adding close to 300 rooms that will support our trade center and put us in a category that is going to allow Haley Tillery, who does an amazing job, to compete against some of the larger communities. That's outstanding. And I hate to quote that sage Chuck Williams, who is a former writer with the Ledger-Inquirer, and he's taken his journalistic talents and dashing good looks to TV media now. I'm going to quote Chuck. Said, if 20 years ago you would have envisioned 2 hotels in the 1200 block of Broadway, you're way smarter than I am, and I went past that block every day. I just didn't see it. He went on to say, if you actually thought that there would be whitewater course in the Chattahoochee River, you're probably a dreamer, because that's all that was a dream. He went on to say in that story, what is happening downtown is starting to happen quickly. It's basically your 20-year overnight success story. A new restaurant here, a new restaurant there, a hotel here, a hotel there, a river center, a Columbus State campus here. It all starts to add up. What do you think people would have thought if during that campaign speech we said, we're going to put a zip line in that's going to allow you to go from Georgia to Alabama right straight across the Chattahoochee and never get your feet wet. Oh, and we'll let you come back too. How about the market days where you have thousands of people walking in the uptown area, walking their pets, buying homegrown vegetables and buying homemade crafts? How about the Frank K. Martin pedestrian bridge? We were driving on that bridge in 1996, and now it looks like a work of art in and of itself. But it's a visible connector, a visible reminder of the connection between Phoenix City and Columbus, and it literally connects our river walks that allows us to recreate down along the river's edge. What about splash pads, water features at Woodruff Park, Harmony Park Playground, a $226 million investment on the part of CSU. Students and faculty members exceed 3,000 people now in the downtown area. And here's one that I really love talking about. How about a $52 million investment by W.C. Bradley on the river's edge that is going to be 226 apartments down below on the first level. There'll be room for restaurants. There's room for retail. Already a restaurant, I think, that's signed a lease down there. It's bordered on one side by a park that will have public access, that you can walk from that park, go through a water feature down to the river walk. It's just hard to imagine if somebody had told you that that's what they were campaigning on back in 1996. I love this one. Try this on for size. If elected, I will, let's see, I know, I'll put Westville on a big truck and I'll drive it to Columbus, Georgia. Well, it happened. You probably wouldn't have believed us back when we were giving land to a group of people that believed that they could build a National Infantry Museum. And they did it. It attracts visitors from all around the globe, and it is ranked #1 in a list of the best free museums in the United States. How about if I told you we'd have 60 miles of connected walking, jogging, biking, greenway trails, and we'd name it the Dragonfly? Or how about that the center of our community would be rebranded as Midtown and become even more of a thriving community than it was then? The Panhandle. We've seen economic development going out 80 and out the Panhandle that nobody could have anticipated in 1996. Now, I don't know if you get a little dizzy thinking about all the stuff that has transpired over those years. I do. I want to mention, too, I'm very bullish on South Columbus. I think we are positioned today to try to generate some investment in a part of our community that sometimes gets neglected when people are talking about opportunities for investment, for growth, for generating economic activity. But the city has been very active. We have right now about 10 active transportation projects with a committed funding of close to $300 million, and most of those are in South Columbus. Think about the new Westville that I brought in right after I got elected. Think about Westville bookending one end down at the southern tip of Columbus on South Lumpkin Road, and a prime piece of commercial real estate that is controlled by the Housing Authority on the corner of Veterans and Victory Drive. And think about the synergy that can create as it starts to spread towards one another. We now have control of the farmers market property. The Ports Authority, we've just obtained the Ports Authority. Those are prime pieces of commercial real estate right there on the banks of the river. I mean, the opportunities to stimulate even more growth into the South Columbus area. And when people see that the government has enough confidence in the area to be investing millions of dollars in infrastructure, they feel better about investing in restaurants, retail, commercial activities. We are also fortunate to be at the foot of Fort Benning, Georgia. And I got to tell you, I saw Mike Burns here from Fort Benning, and Columbus and Phoenix City both, man, we love our soldiers. We love them for what they do for us, the way they take care of us. They sacrifice time with their families to defend the United States and to defend the residents of this community. We also love them because they have a pretty good size economic impact. The gross monthly payroll at Fort Benning is around $110 million. In addition to that, if you add in the contractors that are paid, it goes up by another 250 for a total impact of $360 million out of Fort Benning. Fort Benning is the key driver of our economy in Columbus. So it bears that we stay on top of any attempt to reevaluate through the base realignment and closure proceedings, sequestration. We can't wait until they start going through these events. We have to get out in front of it and make sure that we're prepared year-round so that we can protect our soldiers and keep them here at home. Columbus has gone from being known as a sleepy little town at the foot of Fort Benning that you go through. If you're going south, you're going to the beach, and if you see it maybe when you're going north, going to Atlanta. Well, not anymore. Columbus is a developing, dynamic regional center. And we've had great momentum in Columbus. Momentum that, it's easy to see when you drive through this community. We have other people now coming to Columbus and say, how do you do it? How do you guys do what you've done? As the 70th mayor of Columbus, Georgia, my challenge is to leave to future generations a better Columbus than what we've found. We're not really unlike other communities around the country. We have some areas that have a higher crime rate than we would like, but we're not a danger city. We have some areas of town that have a higher poverty rate than others, but we're not an impoverished community. We have areas of town that have more blight than others, but we're not a blighted community. Like those other cities, we are a vibrant city that provides a great quality of life for the most of our citizens. And that's pretty good, right? For most of those other cities, pretty good is good enough. Here's where we deviate from most other cities. Good ain't good enough in Columbus, Georgia. We're not going to stop working until every single citizen in this community has an opportunity to achieve the quality of life that they want for themselves and for their families. They deserve it. We're different. We're unique. Not because of our government, because of you, because of the business community, the educational community, faith-based, philanthropic, Fort Benning, Phoenix City, our neighbor counties within our region. Very few cities have been able to duplicate the partnerships that we have here in Columbus. That's our secret sauce. People ask how we do it. We can't tell them because it's wound so deeply into our DNA as individuals and collectively as a community that it's really hard. You can't teach that. If you're not born with a desire to try to serve others within your community so that it benefits everybody in the community, you're just not going to get it. Because our leaders don't just sit there and wait for somebody to ask them for money and then stroke a check. Our leaders are the ones that are coming knocking on government's doors and they're saying, hey, I got this great idea. If you can blow up that raft, I'll move some rocks, we'll blow up a dam, we'll have whitewater rafting. The best ideas and the most aggressive movement in this community has happened because of you, because of the citizens of this community. Much of what I talk about in the next few minutes is going to be directly paralleling Columbus 2025. And that's not because we're trying to model our vision after 2025. It's because our vision is the same for the people of this community. And think about it. A skilled and employable workforce, economic growth, a unified Columbus with a recognizable and united image and identity, a culture that is passionately committed to encouraging and fostering entrepreneurs, and a vibrant, united river city that celebrates the fact that we are all so much stronger when we're connected to one another. Guys, that's Columbus 2025. If I was smart, what did my daughter say? Drop the mic and go put my fanny back in the seat. But I still have a few other things I want to get across to you. We are focused on making Columbus better 4 years from now than it is today. That's my commitment. And I challenge you to take the same commitment and join us in the effort as we move this city forward. We want to partner with you to make our streets safer. We're going to continue to reduce crime. We're going to focus particularly on violent crime. Now listen, we're going to work to increase the size of our public safety office. They're undermanned. Our police chief is 84 officers down right now. Our sheriff is down 38. We've got some challenges. We're going to continue to look for ways to increase the pay, not just for public safety, but across general government as well. But we've got to find a way to recruit and retain so that our first responders are able to be experienced when they arrive at the scene. But I got to tell you, you can't police your way to crime prevention. Our officers are awesome. If you commit a crime, they're going to catch you, and they're going to put you away. But if all we do is hire more officers, all we end up needing to do is build more jails. We have to find a way to cut off the food supply. We got to stop crime before it occurs by diverting the young folks from a negative activity. Seth Brown and the Crime Prevention Board, and our chair, Lorraine, is here, and we appreciate what they do. They are giving grants to organizations that are doing just that. They're looking for ways to try to keep crime from happening. There are two areas that I am particularly interested in, and our office is going to take an aggressive stance with. One is our young people, providing structure, providing alternative activities for our young folks, and the other is recidivism. As felons have done their time and they're released from prison, we've got to find a way to integrate them into society. The longer it takes for them to find a place to live, a place to work, the greater the opportunity they're going to have to go back to the old neighborhood, back to the old ways, and back to prison. We are working on strategies to create a more positive environment for our young people, and we just named a Mayor's Commission on Reentry. It's an organization. Councilor House has been a part of that, as has Councilor Huff, and they're working on strategies that are going to keep these folks who are released from going back to prison by getting them integrated into society. We're working on a strategy to bring back the summer youth work program. We're going to try to give kids something to do during the summer and give them enough of a paycheck. It's not going to be minimum wage. We envision it being something so that if they work 16 hours a week during the summer, they're going to have something worth holding in their hand when they get that check, and they'll get to feel the pride that you can only get from knowing that what you're holding you've earned. So we're hoping this will give some of them an idea that there is another path to achieving some of the things that they want. We're going to provide a new version of what we did last year in Parks and Recreation, and we called it a summer pass. They gave free entrance and discounted entrance into recreation centers, into pools. Well, we're going to do the same thing, only we're going to expand it. We're working with the arts community to try to make sure they have access to cultural facilities as well, going to museums, maybe even the River Center or the Springer. The idea is to get these kids exposed to areas that they wouldn't ordinarily get to see, and hopefully get them excited about something other than idle time in their house in the summertime. We're going to continue to support, by the way, I meant to mention, the transportation issues for these kids that want to go to some of these facilities. We'll use this pass as a bus pass so that they can get on a Metro bus without paying anything and go to one of these locations to get access to the rec centers or to the cultural centers. We're going to continue to work with our partners to encourage parental involvement. Too many parents have never had it modeled for them how to treat their kids, or they have, but it hasn't been necessarily in a supportive, structured manner. So there are efforts being undertaken right now with organizations that are trying to teach these parents how to be parents, and a lot of them want to know. We just have to get them in there and start working with them. We're also going to focus very hard on core infrastructure issues. We're going to work on roads. We're going to work on keeping our community clean. And we're going to work on making our neighborhoods safe and a sort of a safe harbor for people when they get home. We'll continue to work with Keep Columbus Beautiful Commission to get folks to quit littering. Our streets look like, some of the streets look like garbage cans, people throwing stuff out the windows of their car. We're going to go through an education process and remind people to put the stuff where it belongs. Don't throw it on the streets. We're even going to work with judges to see if we can encourage alternative sentencing for people who are offenders within our environmental court. And don't give them an option of where they do the community service. Get them out on the side of the road, picking up trash. We used to have 50 to 60 people through doing community service picking up some of the stuff on the side of the road. We're down to about 5. We need to get focused back on trying to get folks to do things as part of their sentence and part of making amends for whatever offense they've committed so that it helps the people of this community. Some of the folks in our neighborhoods are forced to live near dilapidated or burned out houses or maybe go by these skeletal remains of a trailer park. And that's just that's unacceptable. How can you expect somebody going home to their neighborhood to feel good about where they live or feel good about themselves or their community if they drive by that 4 and 5 times a day? You know, we have trouble funding demolition. We've got some amazing employees in the government who are aggressively identifying these properties. Substandard properties, burned out houses, these trailer parks, there's a direct link between that blight and education, poverty, and crime. So what we're going to do is this year, we're going to put $1 million in this year's budget, and it's going to be earmarked for demolition. We're going to take those trailer parks down. We're going to get it to where those folks don't have to look at that stuff anymore. We're also going to, hopefully through this, we'll send a visual message to residents all across our community that they're important, their quality of life is important, and that we care about it. We're going to make sure all of our citizens have access to opportunities. You know, you can't gift somebody to prosperity, but you can opportunity them to prosperity. Columbus is loaded with resources that will help people who are interested in improving their employability by improving their life. We also want every child to be able to read at an early age. Now, some would ask, why are you guys in government getting in Dr. Lewis's backyard and dealing with education? Well, good readers are going to make good students, and good students are going to make good employees, and good employees make great citizens. So why in the world would we not do everything we can to help Dr. Lewis and the school board achieve their mission? We serve the same people, and I thank Dr. Lewis for being willing. He and I are beginning to meet every month and just have a very open discussion about ways in which our 2 legislative bodies can help one another and help the citizens of this community. We have to work to decrease the number of families living below the poverty line. Many of you sat in this room and watched an economic update that showed that our prosperity sector is getting bigger. Good news. The sector below the poverty line is also getting bigger. And I'm going to tell you, one thing the economists pointed out is something we all know. That makes your middle get smaller, and that's not a healthy economy. So we have to, for all of us, we have to try to help some of these individuals pull themselves out of the poverty that they find themselves in. A lot of the faith-based communities, a lot of the charitable organizations are anxious to try to help us get resources to the most underserved, but that is a big hill to climb. These individuals are typically not on social media. They're not Googling, how do I improve my life? And, you know, sadly, they're not even really, a lot of them aren't checking the book bags of their kids as they come home, so it's going to be tough to get it to them, but I'm telling you, together we can do it because we have to do it. You know, I worked for an organization, as Alan pointed out, before running for mayor. In the real estate industry, it was Keller Williams, and they're big on phrases and mantras and maxims that they use. They call them bold laws. And there's one that I'm particularly fond of. I still use it, and it's called, and they say, what you focus on expands. Doesn't matter if it's business, if it's relationships, or if it's just your life. Anything you focus on, subliminally, you will take steps to make it get better. So here's what we're going to keep one eye on all the time as we're dealing with all these core issues. It's our focus: jobs. More and better paying jobs makes all these other challenges so much easier to deal with. Jobs impact poverty. Jobs impact substandard housing. Jobs impact education, and it impacts crime. I've been meeting with some of the CEOs throughout the community, and there's several others that I still have to reach out to, so fair warning, I'm coming. And what we're doing is we want to sit in front of them, look them in the eye, and say, we need you to help us develop more jobs. What do you need from your government to help create an environment that allows that to happen? Because we're going to do our part. I've also been meeting with small business owners who have recently expanded or opened a business, and we're meeting with them and we're asking them how the process went. What went right, what went wrong, what would have made it easier? Was it too cumbersome? Is there something that we can do to streamline it? Because I'm telling you, we cannot afford not to be known as the best place to do business in the Southeast. And that's our goal. Our government is going to do its part. Now, we're also going to continue to engage with young business people, students, because the Columbus that we're building right now is not for us. Well, you guys are a lot younger. It's not for me. It's for the new generation coming through. And if we don't focus in on what they want to see in their community, we're going to miss it. And if we miss it, the results will be devastating. We need to create an environment where young people want to come back to Columbus, chase their dream of business ownership, get married, recreate, live, work, and play in this community. We're going to lock in and focus on these objectives, and we ask you to hold us accountable. In fact, we will be, in the next several months, we will be publishing a dashboard. And it's really for us, but we're going to publicize it because our commitment to being transparent with the citizens is something we take very seriously. We're going to use some of these metrics, and we'll decide which ones we really want to zero in on, but we're going to use them to hold ourselves accountable in the mayor's office to see if the needle's moving, see if we're doing the things we need to do to be able to keep Columbus becoming what we know it can become. And we invite you to be an active partner in that. We want you to hold us accountable. Ask the questions. If we're not improving, ask them what we're doing to make it improve. So that'll be coming out shortly. We're going to focus on basics because basics are the cornerstone upon which everything else that we've talked about today is built. We have enough structures. We have enough buildings. We got enough stuff. We need now to work on making sure that those facilities and those locations are serviceable. They're usable by our citizens, that they're not deteriorating and turning into an eyesore. We got to get to work improving them, lifting them back up. We also need to make sure that our roads are paved and that they are safe and that our connectors are in good shape. And we're going to have to deal with a government center. Now, I don't know what that's going to look like. I really don't. But I do know that it's going to happen. We just put a $6 million Band-Aid on that building. So something's going to happen with that government center, and all I can tell you is it's probably going to be a big-ticket item. So to meet these immediate capital needs, I intend to ask our City Council to consider a SPLOST that would take effect once the current eSPLOST expires in 2020. If they agree, we will immediately begin to schedule public meetings to gather information regarding what projects the citizens want on that list. You know, with current estimates of nearly 40% out-of-county contributions, this option would make certain that the Muskogee County property owners are not the only ones bearing the burden of addressing that building. This is a time of great opportunity in Columbus. You guys, the private sector has raised $5 million for a film fund. a film fund that positions Columbus to receive 10 film projects over the next 3 years. This fund, along with CSU's Nexus degree in film, and with the Bradley Company's donation of Flat Rock Studios, make the outlook for a successful entry into the film industry a very solid possibility. Mercer Medical School, it continues to draw ever closer to a 4-year program. In addition to the 90-plus well-paying jobs and the ultimately 250-plus full-time students, Mercer will open up opportunities for research efforts. Imagine the possibilities with the Amos Cancer Center, Piedmont, St. Francis, Mercer Medical School. I can envision some very intensive and serious research being undertaken right here in Columbus, Georgia. Research dollars will follow. We continue to partner with the Chamber, with CSU, and Fort Benning to expand our presence in the robotics industry. You know, right now there's a lot of momentum in our community, and to keep it going, we need to continue to collaborate with all of our partners. My pledge to you is that I'm in. I'm in with Audrey Tillman in 2025. I'm in with the Chamber. I'm in with General Brito in Fort Benning. I'm in with our next-door neighbor across the river, my good friend Mayor Eddie Lowe. Our educational partners, charitable, philanthropic, faith-based partners, I'm in. This is going to be a partnership. That's the only way we know how to do it in Columbus. In my opinion, government has one job: to create an environment where the people who really drive the train, you, can chart a course, move ahead, and continue to gather momentum. In case you can't tell, I believe the state of our city is strong, but it's going to get stronger because it has to. We have challenges. We've always had challenges, but we will, and we do continue to work to meet those challenges together. I'm excited and proud to be a citizen of this community. And right now, I don't know that I possess the words to tell you how excited and proud and honored I am to be the mayor of this great city. Thank you for your attention this morning, and God bless all of you.